All right, we are continuing with decimal, fraction, and percent conversions. So really quickly, we're going to go back through DFP. So remember, DFP stands for decimal, fraction, percent, and it's in alphabetical order. Okay, remember that we have to follow the arrows. So if you go from a fraction to a decimal, we're going to use cowboy and horse. Okay, if we go from a percent to a fraction, we're going to put percent over 100 and we're going to simplify. Remember, decimal to percent is 2 decimal places to the right, and percent to decimal is 2 decimal places to the left. Okay, so we're going to use those rules to talk about decimal, fraction, and percent conversion with visuals. Okay, so our first question says, complete the table below. So this should be referenced from yesterday. So if we have 10% and we move that decimal 2 places, it would be 0.10. So remember 1, 2. Okay, and then remember percent always goes over 100. And then we can simplify by 10. And we should get 1/10. Okay. All right, the next one, they give us the fraction. So we need to follow our arrows. Our arrows point from fraction to decimal. We would cowboy and horse divide, and we would get 0.60 or 0.6. Okay. And then remember, to move to the percent, we're going to move 1, 2, which will make 60%. Okay. And then we have 0.4. And remember, we can put an imaginary 0 behind that. And when we move our 2 places, 1, 2, that will make 40%. And remember, percent goes over 100. And we can reduce. We're going to reduce by 20. Okay. 40 divided by 20 is 2. 100 divided by 20 is 5. Okay, so that's just a review of yesterday. Example number 2, the rain gauge showed that Mesquite received 0.64 inches of rain. What fraction is equivalent? Equivalent means equal to this amount of rain. So they give us a decimal, so I'm going to write DFP. They give us a decimal, so I'm going to write my decimal underneath the D for decimal. And we are looking for the fraction. So I know that my arrows point this way. Okay. So I'm actually going to have to convert to a percent and then make a fraction. So my percentage will be 64%. And then again, percent goes over 100. So we're going to have 64 over 100. And we can reduce. Okay, we can reduce by 2. And that'll get us 32 over 50. And we can reduce again. And we can say on this one, let's say 2 again. So 32 divided by 2 is 16. 50 divided by 2 is 25. Okay? And that is my final answer. The next one, example 3, it says Max used 4/5 of the gas in his turbocharged diesel. So they give us a fraction. So they want to know what percent did he complete and what percent did he have left. Okay, so we're still going to write DFP. And they give me a fraction, so I'm going to write that under the F for fraction. And in order to make a decimal, I have to cowboy and horse divide. And when I do that, I should get 0.8. Okay, but I need my percent, so following my arrows. And when we move that 2 spaces, that's going to be 80. Remember, we fill in gaps with a 0. Okay, so what percent did he complete? He completed or used 80%, right? He used 80% of his gas. So that means how much did he have left? Well, if his total was 100% and he used, right, 80%, then that would leave us with 20%. Okay, and that's just really a recap of yesterday's DFP. So now today we're going to talk about DFP when you have pictures. Okay, so what fraction, decimal, and percent are represented by the image below? So first thing I'm going to do is anytime I have a picture, I'm going to number. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So my total is 5, and total always goes on the bottom. Okay, so my total is 5, and how many are shaded? 2. Okay, so I have a fraction of 2/5. So that's my fraction. So if I write DFP, my fraction will be 2/5. Remember, how do we get a decimal? We cowboy and horse divide. So when I do that, I should get 0.4 or 40. Remember, the 0 behind it is optional. And then when we move our decimal 1, 2 places, we should get 40%. Okay? The next one says write out the decimal fraction and percent for the picture below. So remember, anytime we have a picture, we're going to label, we're going to number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. So when I look at my picture, 3 are shaded out of a total of 6, and total always goes on the bottom. Okay, so I actually know that I can reduce by 3, and that's going to get me 1/2. So hopefully everyone has 1/2 memorized, and they know that half of a dollar is 50 cents. As a fraction, it's just 1/2, and half of a percentage would be 50%. Okay. All right, and then the last one, number 6, the number line below represents which of the following. So the first thing that we're going to do on number lines is we are actually going to turn them into bars. Okay, so we're going to close in the top. So there's the beginning at 0, and there's the end at 1. Okay, so we're going to close in the top and the bottom, so it makes a bar. And then we're just going to draw our lines like it shows. So we have one there, one there, one there. And now it looks just like my picture up here. And what we do is we're going to shade up to the dot. So they have it dotted right here. So I'm just going to shade it in like that. So now I have exactly what I did here. I'm just going to number them. So I have number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So my total is 8. Okay, my total's 8, and total always goes on the bottom. Okay, and then how many were shaded? 1, 2. Okay, so then I know that I can reduce by 2. And when I do that, I'm going to get a fraction of 1/4, which means I still need a decimal and a percent. So looking, it says the number line below represents which of the following. We can see right here that 1/4 is the correct answer. So I actually don't need to make a decimal or a percent. Okay, and that's how you do decimal fraction and percent conversion with pictures.